All right, today we have a live first impression of the brand new Frederic Malle times Acne Studios release. Now I must admit, when I first saw pictures of this, I thought it was a joke. I thought it wasn't real. And then I heard it might be a linen spray and I thought, well, okay, that makes more sense. My skepticism was mostly because the previous designers Frederic had worked with, Albert Albaz, who formerly designed Lanvin, but I believe was an independent at the time of their collaboration, and Dries Van Noten. Those two are very, very well respected in the high fashion arena. Their work is very artistic, and it seemed like it really came out of a personal friendship between Frederic and these designers. So I was a bit surprised to see Acne Studios, which is a bit more of like a contemporary jeans and sweatshirts. Their scarves are really popular brand. It's a decent brand, but it just didn't seem to fit with the kind of high artistic level of designers that Frederic had previously worked with. Now, I don't know their relationship. The Acne designer is Johnny, I guess, Johansson, because I think they're Swedish. Maybe they're friends. Maybe he's a fan of his work. I've got to say the brand Acne Studios, I can remember when it first came out, their skinny jeans were all the rage and often offered as maybe a cheaper alternative to the, at the time, Dior Homme skinny jean, which was, of course, launched and made famous by Eddie Slimane. And I had a few pair. They're of the kind of stretchy, skin-tight variety that no longer feels relevant, so I don't wear them anymore. Their runway collections are often kind of a hot mess, and I don't know if you know fashion criticism, they very rarely actually criticize anything, but the Acne runway collections don't get too much of a positive reception from critics. However, I think their runway collections are kind of besides the point. What they really sell a lot of, again, are their jeans. The big fluffy scarves are very popular and famous, and I think they're decently done kind of sportswear. The prices, while higher than fast fashion, are lower than like designer fashion. So it sits right in between. Purely personal, but I tend to find that the worst value for money category, because you're paying almost designer prices, but for something quality-wise, obviously better than fast fashion, but I'd rather pay a little more, have something a lot nicer. But anyway, that's a bit of an aside. But on the other hand, this collaboration, if you remember that Malle did a collab with Barney's Co-op, which was their kind of cheaper department store with more sportswear lines like Acne, and he created Outrageous, a more accessible, kind of easy to like, citrusy Ambroxan perfume, which now has been folded into the main line after Barney's closed. So it's not totally unprecedented. I'm not the type with every new release to cynically declare that the brand is dead. So I'm willing to give it a chance. I've probably expressed before that I really appreciate Frederic's desire to stay relevant and to stay with the time, because I very much take the same exact approach to my work creatively. One can't be stuck in the past. There's a lot of obviously great art, great perfume in the past, but ultimately we live in today. So I don't see it as a cynical cash grab. Maybe he's trying to get the attention of a younger audience, but I think he always does a good job of mixing classicism and a certain refinement and high taste level with modernity. And that's just exactly my jam, which is why I'm such a fan of Frederic Malle. I have nothing personal invested in the brand. It just really speaks to me the way he works and his philosophy on things. So let's see what we've got. I'll do an initial spritz right now and maybe come back to it in a little bit while I get ready. I have an event tonight and I wanted to wear something a bit more opulent than a laundry musk, so I might just do one spray on arm and see how it goes. So you can see, as a kind of funny aside, I've got the Mason Francis Kirkjohn Laundry Aqua Universalis. I know, how bougie can you get? I used to use Laundress. They had a big recall scare, so I thought I would try these out. The scent's not overly strong, but since Francis is really the king of laundry musks, I'm really curious to compare and see how this smells in comparison to something from Kirkjohn. So here we go. One disappointing thing is I think if it's marketed towards a younger, more fun, frivolous kind of release like Outrageous, I would think it would be in the lower end of the Frederic Malle price point, and it's not. It's quite expensive. I think it's towards the higher end. Ooh, it's very nice so far. Certainly do get the laundry, but it's thick. It feels not light and watery in the way that Francis Kurkdjian's laundry musks tend to go. I'm detecting iris, almost a nuttiness, a little bit of bright aldehydes. We're kind of finding like a new interpretation of aldehydes is starting to form a bit of a mini trend with new releases. You know, I wore the other day a spray of Iris Pudra, which unbelievably I still don't have. There's something about the dry down I don't love. It has a big aldehydic irisy opening, but then it gets fairly tame, kind of soft sandalwood in the base. That while I like it, I think it's just okay, but this reminds me a little bit of Iris Pudra, a lot more clean, a lot more white musk. So far, impressions are positive. It's violety, it's more irisy than I expected. It's not quite as like exactly laundry detergent as I expected. It's certainly there, but it's not just that. Personally, so far, this is just one spritz. I would take this over most of the Francis Kurkdjian aquas, and those are no cheap fragrances either. So, you know, if we're comparing to that, the prices aren't too outrageous, although I do wish they were in the lower range for something like this. So yeah, musky. I'm almost getting a nuttiness. I wonder if that's that same kind of sandalwood molecule. I always get something nutty with that. Yeah, clean, fresh. It's got very bright. I smell some citrus. Yeah, so I'll see how it wears and I'll come back in a moment. One other thing I wanted to mention, just again, in terms of where this fits in the line. I think one thing Malle does well is with each new release thinking about what is missing in the line. So if you think of the diversity of the last few releases, we had Synthetic Jungle, Uncut Gem, completely different. Then we had Heaven Can Wait, again, completely different. And they all kind of fill a hole in the line. Now it's true, I was thinking there's several, 4 or 5 rose fragrances in the line, but each is quite different. And I can remember when I tried Uncut Gem at the boutique, it's before they even had a bottle, but they had a little unmarked tester that she brought out, and she asked my opinion, and I said it was nice. I didn't know what to expect. I got leather. I found it really interesting. And she said, yeah, it really feels like it fills a hole in something that was missing in the line. And in retrospect, I wonder if that was kind of veiled criticism. Maybe she didn't like it, and it was a way of saying something neutral about it, just like, yes, it fills a hole, like a big amber woody hole in the line. But I think that's a really useful way to think of the new launches. Of course, each one is different because they use a different perfumer, so the styles might vary widely, but it's sort of about like seeing, okay, where else can we explore that we haven't yet within the line, and maybe not within the market as a whole, because of course within the market as a whole we have already plenty of laundry musk fragrances, but within the Frederic Malle line, I can't think of any. Maybe Cologne Indelible has that long kind of musky dry down, could be something like that. But so far I'm actually getting a lot of violet. There's something very bright and kind of purple floral going on there, but I'll come back in a few minutes as I get ready and revisit the dry down. And we're back. Not a lot more to say about it, but I've had a few more thoughts. First, again, the comparison to Francis Kurkdjian's musks, laundry musks. I would say his are a lot more watery, a lot more kind of silvery, almost like a very shiny, polished surface. Whereas I feel like this is a lot more like soft focus lens. I believe I read that it was partly inspired by the textures of Acne's clothes. And one of their famous kind of scarves is kind of a very fluffy and pastel colored scarf. So I can really see that, this kind of fluffy pastel texture. Also, it somewhat has the smell or texture of that like powdered laundry detergent. But I would say, yeah, it has more in common with Chanel than with Francis Kurkdjian. That sort of soapy, aldehydic, violet, fluffy smell. Another thought is it's actually surprisingly more feminine than I had expected. I thought it'd be a very like middle of the road, just clean laundry smell. But because of the violet, it's taking it into a territory that again is a little more Chanel, a little more feminine. I wonder if there's a European laundry detergent that this smells like exactly like or much closer to that I'm just not aware of, because it doesn't smell like American laundry detergents. It doesn't smell like Tide or anything like that. But as it dries down, I can more and more see that. Again, that sandalwood base is like whispering in the back, just this little nuttiness, creaminess, woodiness in the background that keeps it from going to just pure laundry. Another fragrance I often cite that I've experienced that is in the Cartier Promise. I think it's Hour 1, which is iris with a sandalwood, kind of soapy sandalwood dry down. It also feels very strong, like this is going to go on all day. I might not have a choice but to make this my scent of the day. So maybe that's partly to blame for the high price. Maybe it's a very high concentration. It certainly feels like it's going to be long lasting on skin. So overall, of course, it depends how you feel about these sort of clean laundry musk fragrances. If your jam is deep, rich, dark animalics, this might be the antithesis to what you enjoy. But if you like those kind of powdery, pastel-y Chanel fragrances like La Pausa or even 19, although this isn't green at all, or Chance, things like that, you might enjoy this a lot more. But I will say, at the very least, though it is kind of a laundry fresh, clean fragrance, they've delivered an interesting one. I think it would have been disappointing if it was entirely predictable, entirely what I expected, but it's not. There's a bit more to it than that. So the genre will have people divided, but I think the execution, to me at least, is undeniably very good, very well done. So those are my thoughts for now. We'll see how it wears. Some of you may know it was $14 for 2 little samples, so you can order this yourself too. I figured if I go into the boutique, I could probably squeeze a free one out of them, but I decided this time I'd rather spend $14 to have it in the comfort of my own home than deal with the sometimes shady sales assistants who act like you're asking the hugest favor for a sample. So yeah, the strength of this, I feel like I could probably get away with wearing just these 2 through the summer before deciding if I need a bottle or not. So that's all for now. Have a good day.